Welcome. Welcome, my good folks. Another Hump Day Real Estate with Kendall in the DMV. And as you can see, the title says the housing market is going to tank. Well, we're going to talk about that. First, I want to talk to the possible home sellers right now in regards to why access is so important when selling your home. Why access is so important when selling your home. So if you're gearing up to sell your house this spring, one of the early conversations you'll have with your agent is about how much access you want to give buyers. And you may not realize just how important it is to make your house easy to tour. Spring is the peak home buying season. So opening up your house to as many showings as possible can really help you capitalize on all extra buyer activity we see at this time of the year. Since buyer competition ramps up in the spring, buyers are going to want to move fast to see your house once they find your listing. And if they see it and fall in love with it, at a time they know they're at a time fall in love with it at a time they know they're competing with other buyers. You may be more likely to get the offer you're looking for on your home. It's understandable you want to keep the disruption to your own schedule to a minimum. And you may be stressed about having to keep it clean, but it's worth it. As an article from Investopedia explains, if someone wants to view your house, you need to accommodate them, even if it inconveniences you. Clean and tidy the house before every single visit. Buyer won't know or care if your house was clean last week. It's a lot of work, but stay focused on the prize. We have to understand these things, especially anything you're selling, right? You got to have it available, or you'll complain why you didn't sell it. To figure out what's best for you, your agent will walk you through options like the ones below. This list breaks things down, starting with what's most convenient for buyers and getting less buyer focus as the list goes on. Lockbox on the door. The key is available via lockbox, which makes it easy for agents to show the home to potential buyers. This gives the most flexibility because the key is on site and convenient. Providing a key to the home, an agent would have to stop by an office to pick up the key. This option. This is still pretty convenient for showing, but not quite as simple. Open access with a phone call. You allow showing with just phone call notice, which can be great for someone who sees your house while driving by. By appointment only. This gives you a more advanced warning so you can get the house tidied up and be sure to have somewhere else you can go in the meantime, but it's also a bit more restrictive. Limited access. You might go this route if you only want to have your house available on specific days or certain times of day. Realize this is the most difficult and least flexible of the choices. An article from the U.S. News Real Estate says buyers like to see homes on their schedule, which often means evenings and weekends. They want to be able to tour homes soon after they find it online, especially if you're competing with other buyers. If your home can be shown with little or no notice, more prospective buyers will see it. If you require 24-hour notice, they may choose to skip your home altogether. Your agent is going to help you find the right path forward based on your schedule and what's working for other sellers in your area. And if you got a hard line on granting buyers more access or have interested out-of-town buyers that just can't be there in person, your agent will be creative and help you explore options like video tours, virtual showings, and more. Bottom line is, when it comes to selling your house, you want to be sure to get as much buyer activity as you can. So we have an urgency, but then we also want to have balance in life, right? And so these are the things that come in and collide when some folks are actually looking to sell their home, because they may want to sell and then the weekend come and they get off of work and they Friday they ready to tidy things up and lay around, lounge around like they normally do on the weekend. But unfortunately, your work is not over. Actually, in most cases, the weekend the work has just begun for your real estate agent. Excuse me, and for your home to be ready to show, because these are the times mostly that there's a lot of traffic going into your home. And the agents have normally Saturday and Sunday, they normally have open houses on those days. So you got to be available or ready to not be home on the weekend, unfortunately. But fortunately, because you're trying to sell a house. So keep that in mind, folks. So the next thing, the thing that that we all really came here for is recession. Housing market might tank. Recession, housing market might tank. Well, you see my face. Look a little, I don't buy it, folks. I don't buy it, and we have information here like I normally do that says different. And what the information I have here is why there won't be a recession that tanks the housing market. And I've been talking about this for a couple of years. Um, there's been a lot of recession talk over the past couple of years. Same seat, just like I've been discussing. And that may leave you worried. We're headed for a repeat of what we saw back in 2008. The number one thing I'm tired of hearing, folks, and no disregard to, we can't always go back to something that happened years ago and expect and look for that same thing. For the last 16 years, we've been looking for the housing crash of 2008. Let me make sure. Yeah, 16, 14, 20. We've been looking for for 16 years. We've been looking for the housing crash of 2008. I thought there was records where you go back and you record every 10 years and you look at what's going on, etc., to see what's going on in my. Why are we still using 2008 to determine the housing market? I just don't get it. But let me finish with them. Here's a look at the latest expert projections to show you why that isn't going to happen. Excuse me. According to Jacob Chanel, senior economist at the Linden Tree, the economy is pretty strong. At least right now, the fundamentals of the economy, despite home hiccups, are doing pretty good. While things are far from perfect, the economy is probably doing better than people want to give it credit for. That might be why a recent survey from Wall Street Journal shows only 39% of the economists think there'll be a recession in the next year. That's way down from 61% projecting a recession just 1 year ago. So they have a graph here, and the graph shows more economists now see a soft landing. Percent of economists seeing a recession in the next 12 months. So I guess the 39% in this graph is it sees that a recession, sees a recession. This was January 2023. 39% of people saw no recession. 61% said it was going to be a recession in January 2023. January 2024, it reverted. 61% says there's going to be no recession. 39% says it is. So most experts believe there won't be a recession in the next 12 months. One reason why this is the current unemployment rate. Let's compare where we are now with historical data from macro trends, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and Trade and Economics. When we do, it's clear the unemployment rate today is still very low. So I'm looking at a graph here, unemployment rate near all-time low. Unemployment today versus 2008 financial crisis and the 75-year average. So 2008 financial crisis, 2008 to 12, unemployment rate was 8.3%. 8.3%. 75-year average, 1948 to 2023, it's 5.7%. January 2024, the unemployment rate is 3.7%. So, folks, we have to understand what the statistics are, not what we feel emotionally. We have to know what the actual numbers are that cause whatever the situation is. So here's a question that they're asking, but will the unemployment rate go up? To answer that, look at the graph below. It uses data from that same Wall Street Journey survey to show the experts are projecting unemployment over the next 3 years compared to the long-term average. So this is what this projection is. So upon projections for unemployment rates. June 2024, 4.11%. December 2024, 4.30%. June 2025, 4.22%. December 2025, 4.13%. June 2026, 4.04%. December 2026, 3.99%. So the unemployment rate is expected to stay under 5% all the way through 2026. And as you can see, economists don't expect the unemployment rate to even come close to the long-term average over the next 3 years, much less the 8.3% we saw when the market last crashed. We have to look at data, folks, data. And just on a personal note, why are we looking? Let me ask you something. If you were dating right now, are you dating the same way you did in high school? With the same every thought that you had that a guy or a young lady would present to you during that time? We can use some of the measures, but we should not be using all of the data from that time to determine what's going to happen, what's going on now. So still, if these projections are correct, there will be people who lose their jobs in the next year. Anytime someone's out of work, that's a tough situation. Not just for the individual, but also for their friends and loved ones. But the big question is, will enough people lose their jobs to create a flood of foreclosures that could crash the housing market? Excuse me. Looking ahead, projections show the unemployment rate will stay below the 75% average, 75-year average. That means you shouldn't expect a wave of foreclosures that would impact the housing market in a big way. Bottom line is, most experts now think we won't have a recession in the next year. They also don't expect a big jump in the unemployment rate. That means you don't need to fear flood of foreclosures that would cause the housing market to crash. We have to have this conversation again. But look at the numbers, folks. Go out and take these numbers, write them down, and then compare them next year this time, 6 months from now. Just Google what's the national unemployment rate. And if that unemployment rate is not high, 9 times out of 10, all the things that could cause the market to crash, et cetera, um, it's not going to make the situation that you believe may happen. So got to go off the data, folks. You might know a small bit of for a few people that may be going through something and then they end up losing, but that's small numbers. That doesn't equate to housing crash and all of a sudden your neighborhood's not going to be values not going to be there and all of that stuff. I mean, there would have to be a monopoly in your community to knock off the values of the homes in your community. And remember, one of the big factors is remember, real estate is by market. So you could live in a community and the community could be across the road. Your market might be different in that community because something might be going on different in your community than what's going on in this community. Let's say, for instance, this community actually goes to a better high school, right? So this community is going to be different than that community because there's going to be more people that has solid incomes, etc., that may move into the community because they want their kids to go to that better high school. So you have to remember all of those things that comes in. So we can't really always compare and say, well, these homes here are the same as the homes across the road, but then there's some boundaries that set us apart. And so that's always the thing that we have to look at. So you can start at the national market, come down to the state level market, then you got to get in the county market. Now you got to get into subdivisions. Because there's nothing selling in your subdivision, then that's gonna set the tone to whatever happens, where you are. Now you can, excuse me, the appraised values and all can actually get pushed out to go find values if one house decide to sell there, but then that may change something, with depending on the buyers may not come. So if the buyers don't come, then your subdivision is not selling. And the appraisal can always get taken in 5/10 of a mile or so. Most appraisers use kind of under that unless they can't find any sales. So those are the things we gotta look at the facts, folks. Look at the facts. Don't go off of emotions. You can't. They're using numbers from 2008, but we can't think that the exact same thing happened. Now, history repeats itself. It's always different. Right now, what are you guys wearing now? Oh, well, not everybody, but varsity jackets are back in, right? A lot of folks wearing varsity jackets. Well, when was the last time that they were popular? So we have to look at all of that stuff. Okay? So every Wednesday at 7 p.m., I'll be here. Now, today, I'll be honest, I was running around and raining in the area, but I'm going to be here for you to give you this data. So again, Marcellus T. Kendall III, Realtor signing off. Another Hump Day Real Estate, Kendall in the DMV. I'll see you next week. Thanks a bunch.